right, music fans, welcome back. It is I, Dave, the real music observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there and just like me. The story of Michael Bolton and the possibility that he may have been considered as a lead vocalist candidate for the band Journey. That is the subject of this video. On his 1987 album, The Hunger, Michael Bolton coincidentally had some folks from Journey on his album producing and playing, most notably Jonathan Cain, Neil Schon, Randy Jackson, and even drummer Michael Baird from the Raised on Radio tour. They were all brought over to help produce and create music on this album, which would eventually be Bolton's breakthrough. Jonathan Cain, production on Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay, which for the most part was Michael Bolton's breakthrough song on The Hunger. There are other notable great songs like Wait on Love, That's What Love Is All About, and the very Journey sounding You're All That I Need, a tune that Neil Schon lays down some real tasty guitar work on. And the keyboard intro is right out of the early 80s Journey playbook. So you would think to yourself, were these guys kind of scoping Bolton out? And here's my take on it. Yes, they were scoping him out, but his career took off because of what they did, what they accomplished on this album. I was one of those guys in radio who just marveled at the success that this guy had in such a short period of time. Those albums that came after The Hunger, right through the early 90s, were just huge albums. Soul Provider was the one that really on Top 40 just went bananas. The critics hated Michael Bolton. They hated him with every fiber of their being. He will never be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in this century. Maybe 100 years from now he might. But think of this lineup of songs that were on the next album. The Soul Provider title track, How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? How Can We Be Lovers? When I'm Back on My Feet Again. All of those tunes, and of course Georgia on My Mind. The critics hated that on every Bolton album there was a soul classic that he had to redo. They hated later because then he had like people like Kenny G hanging out with him. And you can't have Kenny G on anything because he adds, melody and texture, and he seems to know how to play pretty well. And you don't want that, do you? But getting back to the original premise of the video, would Bolton have been a good singer for Journey? I don't see why he wouldn't have been. Steve Perry was all about soul, and I think Michael Bolton had a pretty decent register where he could cover these high notes. I think he'd make these songs sound a lot different, and it would be interesting to hear Michael Bolton singing a tune like Separate Ways. And here's the other part of this is Michael Bolton, prior to all this, had the street cred of a rock and roller. Go listen to Fool's Game from Bolton's first album for CBS, and you'll say to yourself, holy crap, Batman, Michael Bolton can rock. And that's the little secret about him, is that he came from the camp where they were trying to get him on AOR rock stations, mainstream rock stations, and they succeeded to some degree. I mean, he wasn't huge over there, but he was starting to gain momentum. I think, though, somebody in a boardroom, smartly for once, said, hey, dude, you've got this soul voice. We can make you into a pop star. Here, take this song and record it, and we'll bring in some guys who know what they're doing. And again, the guys from Journey really helped give Michael Bolton a push. And my hunch is if this album wasn't a success, I bet you Neil Schon and Jonathan Cain would have rubbed their hands together and said, you know what? Let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. He's got the cred to do this, and it would be kind of cool to hear him sing those songs, at least from my perspective. Now, you may think he's totally wrong for the gig, and I get that because everybody just wants this high tenor voice. But Bolton had this great range and he had a ton of soul. And who knows, Steve Perry might have even approved because he was a soul boy. All right, that's my video, a little speculation and just having fun here. I may do a video called What the Heck Happened to Michael Bolton, but I think we know. I think the music industry chewed him up and spit him out when they were done. When music went south, Michael Bolton's career did as well. I'm Dave, and I'll be back with more real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. We'll do it again real soon.